Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everybody, my name is Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com and welcome to podcast number 1. I am going to go into a little bit about why I'm doing a podcast in the first place, and then I'm going to share a little bit of my own personal background. Today's podcast is just going to be me and the microphone. So really, I'm going to explain some of my own business background and how I've been successful with my internet business, and really living the dream. As cheesy as that sounds, I've now been working from home for just over 1 year. It was on March 11th, 2011 when I quit my day job that I had had for a number of years and went full-time on my own. So I'm going to share how that all happened, how now a year later my business has grown quite a bit, and how I'm feeling very comfortable that I'm going to be working for myself long term, and hopefully share some tips on how you can do the same yourself if that's what you choose to do. Of course, I can never promise you that you're going to be successful in the exact same business that I'm in, but hopefully I can give you some tips as to overall strategies that have given me the ability to both quit my job and to be successful building websites, and some other avenues that I'm now pursuing that are also seeing some success. So with that, I want to get started right away. Why am I even having a podcast? The idea is essentially for me to get my voice out there a little bit, to be heard. I have my blog over at nichepursuits.com, which is doing fairly well and I'm happy with, but my readers there want a little bit more. They want to hear both more of my own background, and I believe that I can bring to the table, I can either bring on some interesting people for interviews, and being able to speak through audio just gets my ideas across a little bit better, and maybe even more fully than I can do when I sit down and write a blog post. I can delve a little bit deeper. It provides a little bit more nuance. Anyways, if you're listening to a podcast, you understand why podcasts are interesting, so let's go with it. So that's why I'm doing it, just to get out there a little bit more, to share the information that I have to share. And overall, the purpose, I really hope that I can do lots of podcasts in the future. The idea is that I want to discuss business ideas, and of course most of them will be internet based, either that I've started on my own or that others have been successful with that I can bring on for guests. And ideally, these are ideas that you as the listener can both try out yourself or benefit in some way from. I hope to have some no-nonsense discussions on both tactics and attitudes that you can use to help launch your own small business. And so even if that's not an internet-based business, or if you're not building niche websites, which I will talk about a lot, hopefully there's some other tactics that you can use and overall strategies that you can implement to help you get something going on the side if you're working full-time. Like I did. I got something going on the side that eventually grew into something full-time. And I suspect that many of you out there are in that same boat. You're working in a corporate job that you want to be able to not be working at for the rest of your life. You want to go out, start something on your own, start a business that can be successful. So that's why I say I really am living the dream. I am doing something that I had dreamed about and hoped for many, many years. And it's a reality now. It's very hard work. And I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression that working for yourself is not difficult and that it's not difficult to go out and do that, because it definitely is. but I'm here to say that it's very, very possible, and I'm loving it. I love being able to work for myself. I can work my own hours, which honestly are often more hours than I worked at a corporate job, but I enjoy it. It's what I want to do. And of course, the financial benefits have been very, very good for me. So the overall theme of this podcast is going to be my background and my history with niche websites and how I was able to quit my own job and some of the things that I have planned going forward. And so it should be an interesting podcast. I've shared some of this on my blog in the past, but not as much through an audio version through a podcast here. So with that, let's get started. So first of all, who am I? What is my background? I haven't always been involved in internet marketing. In fact, it's only been a short period of time. But in reality, I'm a married guy. I'm a family guy. I have 3 children, and family has always been very important to me. I grew up in a large family with 8 children. I'm child number 4, so stuck in the middle there, and loved it. I loved having lots of brothers and sisters. I have 4 other brothers and 3 sisters, and always something exciting going on in the house. And so growing up, business wasn't really a thought ever of what I would go into. But honestly, as I look back now on my childhood, it's really not surprising that I've become an entrepreneur. Growing up, I would invite the neighborhood kids over along with my brothers, and we would throw a carnival where we'd actually charge the neighborhood kids for entrance, a quarter or whatever it was. And one of our hit sort of booths that we had was our video game booth. We would had just our regular Nintendo down in our basement that we would put a refrigerator box around the TV and cut out one end so it was like a tunnel that the players would sit at the other end and, have the long refrigerator box with the TV essentially inside that. And we would actually charge them to play this arcade. And what I found funny about this whole setup is that the neighborhood kids would be paying us a quarter or whatever to play these games that they actually owned at their own house. We just wrapped it in a different box and it made it a little bit more interesting and helped them, have fun doing it. Anyway, so I threw carnivals and did a couple of other things as a child that, maybe was my first try at being an entrepreneur. But as things went on, I didn't get interested in business until I actually saw my own father start his own business. He was a civil engineer for many, many years, and finally decided to go out on his own and started his own civil engineering company. And this was right as I was about to go into college. This was right after I graduated high school and was starting to decide what career I wanted to go into, and I saw my own dad starting a business, and so I decided to go into business management. Graduated from BYU with a degree in business management and finance as an emphasis, and then went on to work at Merrill Lynch for 2.5 to 3 years, really as part of a team of advisors. I was really just a customer service associate, junior advisor. I was registered with my Series 7 and 66. So I did, do trades for customers and everything like that. But I was very much the peon on the team that was just handling basic customer service type tasks for the most part. I did do some other interesting things. So I worked there at Merrill Lynch for a little bit. Then I decided to go back and get my MBA. And so I moved back to Arizona, where I'm from, and started working for Wells Fargo, and eventually got into business banking with Wells Fargo. So I was working full-time while I was getting my MBA at ASU, Arizona State University, in the evenings. And so for a couple of years, I was both working full-time and going to school full-time. And so I worked at Wells Fargo overall for about 6 years. And so my corporate life lasted about 8 years after I officially graduated with my undergraduate degree, before I went out on my own full-time. But of course, a lot happened in that time period before I just decided, hey, I'm going to go out on my own. I had the business up and running before I ever quit my job. And here's how it happened. Essentially, I started out slowly. And in fact, maybe I should back up a little bit, even more than that. How did I even get interested in building websites in the first place? Initially, actually, it wasn't even thought of as a business idea to me. I actually just found it very interesting that there were so many businesses making so much money, at that time. eBay was big, Amazon was big, some of these other earlier internet startups were big and doing well on the stock market, and I, of course, was involved in finance, and so I was very interested in stocks trading on the market and how these internet-based companies were doing so well. And I thought it would just be interesting to see if I could possibly get something online. So in reality, I decided to just teach myself HTML, or at least enough to get something up on the internet for the world to view. And so that's what I did. I just did a little bit of dabbling in HTML coding, just enough to get a website up and running. And I think initially I used something free like Yahoo Web Pages. I don't even remember what it was called, but I believe it was a service through Yahoo that allowed you to code your own web page and host it for free and all of that fun stuff. And I did a couple of other free hosting type websites, basic things where I just sort of learned the whole process of getting something online. And so from there, the next step was, once I had something online, starting to think, well, if I can get something online, how are these businesses making money? How do I get advertisers on my website? And things like that. So it went through a whole process where I was just sort of dabbling on the side in the evenings every once in a while, just to see if I could get something online, then to see if I could actually get advertisers on my site, and then finally deciding, you know what, I should create something very interesting. And because my background was in finance, I decided to create a bigger website, informational website, on things like how to budget, how to get out of credit card debt, credit repair, those sort of topics, into this one website where I spent a lot of time writing all of the articles myself. And I thought they were great, and they were great. They were well-researched articles that I wrote myself, and I thought that if I wrote great information, the visitors would surely come. Well, the reality is that didn't happen. There was hundreds or thousands of other great websites as well writing on the same topics. So I didn't have any real way to differentiate myself from them. So here I was with this great website that I'd spent so much time researching and building, but no search engine traffic. Nobody was coming to visit it. And that's really when I started to do some more research onto how to get free traffic from Google and other search engines. And what I found is that you needed to do keyword research, which I hadn't done when I initially set up my website, and so many other things. But I do look at that initial website, even though it was not successful by any stretch of the imagination. I maybe made a few dollars at most a month. I'm talking $3, $5, $10 maybe a month. And this is something that I poured my heart and soul into. But I look at it as a very important learning lesson which I think everyone needs to go through when they're first starting out and when they're building websites. There's simple things like, how do you buy a domain name? That was a big deal. I had no idea how to do that when I first got started. Where do you host your website? How do you set up hosting? And how do you point your domain that you purchased to your hosting account? And all of these questions that I had, it really was a long time frame of learning. And so for everyone getting started out, trying to build their first website, trust me, I feel your pain. I understand what it's like to just not even know how to get something online. I went through months struggling, and I, of course, taught myself everything myself. I refused to pay anyone for any sort of training or any sort of help. So I could have drastically reduced my learning curve, of course, if I had known where to look or had somebody to help me out. But I also view it as, because I did everything myself, I internalized what I learned, and now I completely understand how hosting and domains and WordPress works. And that's another big thing, just understanding what a content management system was. WordPress, I didn't even use WordPress for quite a while because I didn't know it existed, and that was, trust me, a big time saver when I finally discovered what WordPress was. And for those listening, WordPress is a content management system that initially maybe started off as a blogging platform, but you can use it to build any type of website now. Very flexible to put the content on your site the way that you want to see it. So this was a learning time frame for me. That initial site didn't make much money to speak of, but I did discover Google AdSense at that time and other affiliate programs. So I tried selling related financial products with very minimal success, but I did get a few clicks on my Google AdSense ads, and that was sort of the first time that I began using Google AdSense. But it became a journey for me. That website failed, and I moved on to other things. I tried other topics. I went to the internet marketing forums. I went and read other blogs from other internet marketers. All these things that I know that lots of people are doing now to learn what other people were doing to be successful. And I fell into the trap that perhaps many others fell into of trying out different strategies all the time. One week I'd be really excited about promoting a certain affiliate offer. Then the next week I'd be really excited about trying out some completely different strategy, maybe selling an ebook. Try to sell information on eBay, and all of these things I did. And again, with very, very minimal success, nothing to speak of whatsoever. And so over a period from about end of 2005, early 2006 was when I first put up my financial related website that I've mentioned here. And after that, for about 2 years, so it was easily, mid to late 2008 before I really started to understand search engines, search engine optimization, and keyword research. And so that was the early days where I started to finally sort of solidify what maybe I should be trying to do. And so that brought me to niche websites. I had built so many different types of websites and finally realized that, hey, it's not the easiest thing in the world to just rank for any keyword within Google. You really need to do your research, and you need to find those low competition keywords. So I finally did an experiment in around late 2008 where I built 2 websites on very niche topics. And these topics were worm farms was one. I built a website related to worm farms. Yes, a very random topic. And another one on buffalo nickels. A buffalo nickel is, if you use U.S. currency, it was a nickel that was issued a number of years ago that just has a buffalo on it. So people search for that and try to figure out how much it's worth, is kind of what people do on Google for the most part. And so I built these two websites on worm farms and buffalo nickels, two very random topics that I initially didn't know much about, but I did my research. I wrote original articles for the websites, and I, of course, found the keywords initially and found that, hey, I really believe that I can rank well in Google for these two topics and these two websites. I hope that I can make $1 a day, was the goal that I set. And so I built these, I worked on them for a couple of months, and then I essentially let them go. I essentially, at that point, when I say let them go, I became hands-free. I no longer worked on them. I was no longer adding new content. I was no longer building links to them. They were on their own. They were starting to rank in Google, and I left them alone. And that went on for almost another year after that. And of course, after I built those two websites, I went and I was dabbling in either other projects, other websites. I wasn't doing a lot. You have to remember at this time I was still working full time. By this time I had 2 children, and so I didn't have a lot of time. But the spare time that I did have, I was either researching different business strategies, thinking of different ideas, and sort of very minimally looking at these niche websites. So after these 2 websites had been up for about a year, I looked at the earnings in Google AdSense, which I use to monetize my websites, and I found that they were essentially making me about $20 a month a piece. Each of this, so $40 a month total, I was making from Google AdSense. Now you may say that's not very much money, and it's not, but this was $40 a month that I was earning whether I did anything at all. I was not touching these websites for almost a year. And so this was really passive income, at least I saw from my perspective. This was $40 a month that I had to do nothing for. And I will just give you an update on those websites. It's now been, it's mid-2012. So it's been almost 4 years since I created those sites, and they're still earning around $20 a month, believe it or not. And I haven't touched them since then. It's been 4 years. It's not always $20 a month. One of them is, maybe closer to $10 a month. It's moved down a little bit, but the other one still is pretty consistently $20 a month. And so at that time, if I go back now again to around the middle of 2009, was at this point, I decided, you know what? I think I've got something here. These niche websites are something that if I were to replicate these 2 sites over and over again, let's say 100 times, and my goal is simply to make $1 a day, I could have a real business on my hands. You multiply $40 times 100, that's $4,000 a month, which is not bad. And so what if I could do, twice that? What if I could do $8,000 a month? Anyway, so my mind is spinning. The wheels are spinning. And so I dedicated myself, and I can go back. It was September of 2009. I actually sat down with a couple of my friends. We were talking business ideas. And of course, I told them my experience with building these small sites. And I told them exactly what I plan to do. I said, I'm going to build 100 of these sites in as quickly as I can. I'm going to go out, do the keyword research, and I'm going to find these topics that I can rank quickly in Google, get this free traffic. People are going to click on my ads, and that's going to be my business. And so that was September of 2009. And I did just that. That very first month, I believe I built 30 websites, if I am recalling correctly. The next month, I built maybe 20. And I started to slow down a little bit because I was doing all of this well, I wasn't doing all of it myself. At this point, I started to outsource some of the work as far as article writing and things of that nature. But I was doing a large part of it myself still. But I can look back at that decision in September of 2009 and that goal that I set to build these niche websites in mass is what I referred to them. Going in mass, I wanted to build hundreds of these as quickly as possible. And I look back at that as being my turning point. My income increased steadily each and every month for the next year. By the end of 2010, so about a year and a half, I was basically ready to quit my job. I had made up my mind that I was going to quit my job. And by March of 2011, which was about a year ago, I was making around $7,500 to $8,000 a month from my websites, and I quit my job. I told my boss probably at the end of February of 2011 that, hey, I've got this business. It's now making more than my day job. I'm ready to go full time with it, and that's what I did. So I quit my job in, like I said, March of 2011, and it's been a year since then, and things are going great, and I've, of course, expanded my business to include other things as well, but I'm still building those niche websites, and they're still doing well. It's still a great business for me. So that is really my background, but I want to sort of dig a little bit deeper into how I found these niches to go into and the importance of keyword research, because I get a lot of questions from people about how I was able to do it and what's the most important thing. And a lot of people focus on the articles that they should be writing or the links that they should be building to their websites or how they should structure their sites. Okay, just had a small interruption there. My 3-year-old wanted to see what's going on. Just one of the joys of working at home here. But I was talking about how I found niches and really the importance of keyword research. And if there's one thing that I could stress to people out there that may be thinking about getting into a similar business, is just that keyword research really is the key to this entire business. At least from my strategy, it has been. My ideal situation is to find a keyword that is very low-hanging fruit, is something that I know if I build a site on, I can rank very quickly and easily within Google without doing a lot of additional work such as link building and other things that can be done. And so what I want to do is just very briefly give you sort of an explanation from start to finish how I find keywords, how I build sites, how I get those sites to rank well in Google, and how I get them to make money. So basically, the importance of keyword research, there's lots of different types of keywords out there, and a very basic comment here that I'll make. Keywords are just things that people are typing into Google. These are things that people search for on Google. So everyone out there that uses Google, what you type into that search bar, that's a keyword. So that's what I'm referring to if anybody's not familiar out there listening. So you can do product-based keywords. You can do informational-based keywords. You can do all sorts of varying types of keywords. I found my most success doing informational type keywords. These are keywords that maybe there's not a specific product that can be sold along with it. For example, I go back to my Buffalo nickel. That's not something that there's a specific product tied to the Buffalo nickel per se. It's more of an informational type keyword. And so is worm farms in a way. People aren't out buying worm farms. Well, they do to a very small degree, but they might be out purchasing worms. But that example is more informational because I'm just providing information on worm farms. And advertisers put up ads related to that. So having said that, so I typically focus on more obscure, maybe more informational type keywords. But you have to start with a seed keyword before you can expand onto something further. A seed keyword is simply anything that you can brainstorm for. So if you sit down with a pen and paper in front of you and you write down 20 words, this could be golfing, this could be running, this could be anything on your desk, for example. I'm looking at an iPod, I'm looking at keys, I'm looking at a checkbook, I'm looking at a pen, I'm looking at headphones. All of these things, that could be seed keywords. Then you plug these seed keywords into a keyword research tool, and that could be the free Google AdWords keyword tool, or it could be Longtail Pro, which is my keyword research tool. But whatever tool you use, this will expand your seed keywords into a list of maybe 800 or so other keywords that people also search for on Google that are related. And so once you've expanded that list, you then want to sort of narrow it down to those keywords that get enough searches a month. After all, you don't want to target a keyword that only 50 people a month are searching for. So you want to filter out anything that gets below around 1,000 searches a month. I like to target keywords that get 2,000 to 3,000 ideally, or a little bit more. But if it's a great keyword that I know I can rank well in Google for, I'll go for just 1,000. So if I filter out sort of the very low search volume keywords, then I also want to look at those that have lots of advertisers. The keywords that lots of advertisers are going after are going to be those higher paying keywords, those that have a high CPC or cost per click. And so I like to look at $1 or more preferably. I will definitely go less than that. That's not a hard and fast rule. I'll look at keywords that only have a 50 cent or even a 25 cent CPC, as long as I believe that I can rank really well in Google, and ideally they have a little bit higher search volume. So if it's got a higher search volume, I'm willing to come down a little bit on that CPC number. But ideally it's going to have lots of advertisers. Then once I've sort of found those keywords that fit that criteria, I'll then go over and see if the top 10 results in Google are low competition. And there's a number of ways that you can see whether or not you can outrank these websites that are ranking in Google. And I will just say that it's a difficult skill to learn. It takes some practice. It definitely takes some know-how. There's a big learning curve involved here. But some of the basic things are whether or not those sites are using the keyword in the title. If they're not even using the keyword in the title of their page, that's good for you, because that means they're not quite optimized on their site as well as they could be for that keyword. Other things to look at are whether or not they have a lot of links pointing to the page. I like to find results that have maybe 50 or less page links pointing to that. You can look at the domain age. If there's lots of newer sites that are a year or less ranking well within Google, then you can suspect that you can also create a newer site and perhaps rank well in Google as well. Now that's not a hard and fast rule, but you need to take all of these things in aggregate to determine how difficult the top 10 competition is. Another thing to look at is the page rank. Is this site authoritative overall or not? And there's lots of other things to look at. I like to see sites that are maybe article directories or forums or are question and answer type sites, or even other niche sites, other affiliate type sites. If I see other affiliates ranking, that gives me some encouragement that I can rank there as well. So I sort of look at all of these factors and then make a judgment call and say, yes, I think that I can rank. I'm going to go after this keyword. So let's create an example here. So, if my seed keyword was headphones, let's say one of the keywords that I generated was best headphones. And I decide that I'm going to create a website on best headphones. That's going to be the keyword that I target. So I'm going to write a good article on, what are the best headphones on the market today. That might be actually the title of my post there. So I wouldn't just use the keyword, best headphones. I would make it a little bit more in depth than that. And I will back up a step as far as the domain name. Ideally, you can get bestheadphones.com. If you can get that, great. You get an exact match domain, whether that's a .com, .net, or .org. Those are the three that I focus on. If it's not available, no big deal. I still go after it. You don't have to have an exact match domain. You can just add a prefix or a suffix to that. So it could be, bestheadphonesreview.com or thebestheadphones.com. Just add a word before or after. The important part is to have the keyword within the domain itself. Google gives a little bit of a bonus for having that keyword in the domain. And I think they're dialing down the importance of having an exact match domain. So that's why I don't worry too much if it's not just the exact match domain. So then I put up my primary article. Then I'll also put up 4 to 5 secondary articles. And these would be additional articles that target something other than best headphones, but are still related. So maybe I'll take a specific brand of headphones and write about those. Or maybe I will take a type of headphone like over-the-ear headphones, do a review on over-the-ear headphones, or in-the-ear headphones. Could be a different one. So I don't want to use my keyword over and over and over again throughout the site. I just use it once on the primary article. The other articles on the site are targeting different keywords that are also related. So my standard site will start out with about 5 pages or so, and then I'll get it indexed in Google, and Google does a good job. You don't really even need to do anything special these days. Build any link and your site's going to get indexed very quickly. Then I'll add my advertising code and my site will be ready to go for visitors. Now, getting it to rank in the top 10 of Google can take some time. It usually will take at least 30 days or so before you see too much movement. Sometimes it can happen quicker and usually a little bit longer. But around 30 days, you can start to see some movement, hopefully. And you do this by building links to the page. That is, of course, a very important part, but it's really never been my primary focus because the pre-work that I do, the keyword research, writing the good content, that is by far much more important than link building in my strategy. Some may disagree. Maybe they target more difficult keywords where link building is more important, but I try to find that very low-hanging fruit that with just a dozen, 2 dozen links can hopefully start ranking. Now, of course, I'm going to build more links than that. I use things such as Unique Article Wizard, My Article Network. Other article marketing is generally how I'm getting other sites to link to my niche website. So, and of course, that could be a conversation that could go on for a long time about link building strategies and other specifics about niche websites. But that in general is honestly what I do. And my goal, at least when I started, was to make $1 a day per website. If I could do that, then I would have a very profitable business on my hands. And of course, that's the case. Now I've built over 200 websites since I got started. And just to give you an idea, in 2011, I did make over 6 figures just from Google AdSense from my niche websites. I had income from other sources as well outside of Google AdSense. That was definitely the bulk of my income, but that was all income generated off of my primary blog. nichepursuits.com does bring in some income, not nearly as much as my other niche sites, but just my niche sites did have over a 6-figure income in 2011. And so it's a very viable business that's worked well for me. And so that's why I moved into actually creating nichepursuits.com, was because I had found a strategy that worked for me, but I saw some reasons that I should maybe diversify my income away from Google. And that's something that I want to talk about just a little bit because it's important to understand. So I actually created Niche Pursuits to talk about other business ideas that I would pursue outside of niche websites. And so if you go back to some of the early posts, I talk about different ideas. I talk about storage unit auctions. I talk about public domain works and iPhone apps. And pursuing an iPhone app business is actually what I'm currently working on. That's sort of my new business, at least one little piece of my business that I'm working on right now. And I did this to diversify away from Google because with niche sites, as good as they are, you really are at the mercy of Google because all of the search engine traffic is free to me. But if Google changes how they rank my sites or they decide they're going to do things differently and my sites don't rank where they were before, guess what? I'm out of luck. My site that has lots of traffic today could have no traffic tomorrow. And so it is a scary situation to be in. So it's something to make you very aware of is that it's risky. You know, this is not a guaranteed business here, and there is no such thing. If anybody tells you that, you should probably be running the other direction because nothing is guaranteed. I promise you that. So in order to diversify a little bit, I created Niche Pursuits so that I can try out some of these other business ideas. And instead of bringing in 100% of my income from just my niche websites, I could have a different source of revenue. And so what I did is I actually created a survey on nichepursuits.com, and you can go back and look at that. Maybe I'll link to that here within the podcast notes, where I listed maybe 6 or 7 different business ideas that I was interested in pursuing, and I let users actually vote on those business ideas. And the one that received the most votes would be the one that I went out and tried to build a business on. And that was iPhone apps. And so I actually have been in the process of creating an iPhone application, and I'm basically done with that now. But really the whole point of it was to go ahead and diversify my income away from Google. So for anyone considering this business, I just want you to go in with your eyes wide open. I want you to be aware that there's definitely risks involved, and that things don't always go as planned, and that obviously happens with my sites even now. I build sites that I think should rank well and they never do, or I have sites that have ranked well and then Google changes something and then they no longer rank quite as well. Overall, my sites are still doing very well. They're still ranking in Google very well. So overall, it's still a great business for me, and I will continue to be involved in this business, but you have to be aware that it's not an easy business. There's a big learning curve, there's risks, and things are always changing. It's a very fast-paced technology business, and so things are changing rapidly, and you have to stay on top of it. So please just be aware that I can guarantee you that things are not going to always go as you expect. So that's one reason why I'm diversifying out into iPhone apps. And I do want to talk just briefly about my iPhone apps experience. I decided to go ahead to sort of get my feet wet, because I'm hoping this is going to be the first of many iPhone apps, is to create one in something that I'm familiar with. And I decided to create an iPhone app based on Google AdSense, because Google AdSense is something that I check my earnings every day, and I know other people do as well. And so I wanted to create an iPhone app that allows people to check their earnings, but also sort of has a fun little feature that makes it a little bit more enjoyable when you earn some money. And that's something that I haven't sort of talked about that unique feature quite yet. And I guess I'm not right now, but I do expect that at the beginning of May, I will be officially launching my iPhone app on the App Store. And if it all goes well, I hope to go back and create some more. So basically what I did is, from idea to creation of the app thus far, I'll just give just a couple of quick minute overview, is came up with the idea. Then I drew up, just using, for me, the free paint.net, and there's lots of other wireframe tools out there, but just very rough, I drew what the different screens would be on the iPhone app and where different items would be located, buttons and things like that would be located on the iPhone screens. Then I sent that over to my graphic designer that I've used a lot and had them turn those wireframes into something that looks very cool, looks more professional. And then I hired somebody on Elance. I went to elance.com, posted a job for an iPhone app developer, and found somebody that had some good reviews that also wasn't too expensive. And I think I found somebody pretty good. They've been great to work with up to this point, and they've provided an app that works for me. So I found somebody that outsourced it, told them the idea. We went back and forth a little bit to work out how everything would go together, how it would function. I gave them the graphics, they implemented those, and then they began sending me test versions. And all of this has taken definitely a couple of months. I've sort of been slow moving on the project because I have lots of other things going on as well. But now I do have a working iPhone app, which I'm loving. I think it's pretty cool, and I think others out there will like it as well. But it's been a great experience for me, and so I'm hoping this can be the beginning of a journey to diversify into iPhone apps, so I can segment my business a little bit more. In addition to the iPhone apps and my niche websites, to give you an overall picture of what my business is, I do have a couple of other products out there as well. I also have a keyword research tool, Longtail Pro, which I mentioned, and I built Longtail Pro out of frustration with other keyword research tools. I used some of the other popular ones out there, including the Google AdWords keyword tool. I used Market Samurai and others. But these were all very slow because I wanted to search for lots of seed keywords at once, rather than inputting one, sitting and waiting, and if I didn't find anything, going back and inputting another. So I built Longtail Pro with the ability to input multiple seed keywords at once, the ability to automatically check for exact match domains, the ability to filter out unwanted keywords automatically, and lots of other cool things. It allows you to look at the top 10 results in Google and analyze the competition, and really is something that met my needs. I built for myself, and I knew that if I built something that I, as a niche website builder and keyword researcher, liked, that other people out there would like it as well. And I've been pleasantly surprised that there are lots of people out there that do like the tool as well. So I thank you all that have already purchased Longtail Pro for doing so. I appreciate it very much. And for those of you who are interested in checking it out, of course, I'll link to it here in the show notes as well. But that's been a big part of my business that's definitely diversified my income away from just my niche sites. And so it's been great. And more recently, I've been working on a couple of other projects. One that is ready to go and out the door is a niche website theme, and that's at nichewebsitetheme.com. And that is a WordPress theme that just makes customizing the look and feel of a niche site a little bit easier, and does some other cool things as well. I'll let you check that out on your own if you want to do that. But basically what I've been able to do in my business is take things that I have either been frustrated with or take things that I see that could be done a little bit better, and then I've gone out and I've built that product. And as I've done so, I've been pleasantly surprised to find that lots of other people also are finding these ideas worthwhile as well. So I've definitely been able to grow my business beyond just niche sites, But I will say that that is still my core. That's still my passion of my business. I enjoy it very much. I don't know if there's something just off in my head about, or something about me that just enjoys keyword research. I don't know what it is. But I actually enjoy sort of analyzing the competition and finding that golden nugget. I always get some excitement out of that. So, now that I've got my business, I am working from home. I quit my job about a year ago. What does the future bring for me? I've sort of touched on, going into more iPhone apps, certainly building more niche sites. But right now I am at home. That does bring some challenges. I've got 3 children at home, and if they're not at school, it's a little bit noisier around here. It can be a little bit harder to get some things done. And another challenge of working at home, for any of you out there considering it, is setting a schedule and maintaining it. I have total freedom over when I start working in the day and when I stop working in the day. If I decide to sleep in or stay up late or not work during the day, I have nobody to blame but myself, but I also have nobody sort of telling me to get on the ball. I don't have a boss here sort of telling me to do that. So it's easy to be lazy if you want to. But if you are, you have nobody to blame but yourself. And so luckily I've done pretty well. I basically set up a schedule for myself. I try to get working once the kids get off to school, which is around 8:45 or so when they finally get out the door in the morning. And then I try to work till 5 in the evening, then have dinner and a little bit of family time. And of course, later on, maybe once the kids are in bed, I do tend to gravitate back towards either catching up on emails or doing other things for my business. But overall, that sort of gives you a good look into how my business is running, how I'm working from home, the different products that I have going and different projects that I have. But that's my story, sort of from start to finish, how I got involved in niche sites, how I'm still building niche sites, but how I'm trying to grow my business beyond that as well. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this initial podcast. I have tried to share some valuable information, and I definitely plan on having many more podcasts in the future. I expect to have several guests here, and I've actually got quite a few lined up already to hopefully make this a regular podcast where you can come back and not just hear about me anymore. It's not going to be me all the time talking about what I'm doing. I know that you're interested in hearing about other strategies or other niche business ideas that can work. And so I'm going to be interviewing people that have tried out different niche business ideas and have become successful with them. And ideally, these are going to be people that are in businesses that you can also get involved in, if that is something that is of interest to you. And of course, I'm going to definitely be picking their brains because I like to be trying out lots of different things as well. So if one of my guests on my show piques my interest, I may just dabble in the business that they talk about as well. So look forward to future podcasts. Like I said, I've got several scheduled already, so those should be coming in the not too distant future. Again, thank you very much for listening. I'm going to have additional links in the notes at nichepursuits.com is where you can follow along and see additional posts and updates coming from me. So thank you very much. Have a great day.